I have so many agents reaching out to me saying, now that the market has shifted, Brandon, shouldn't I be working with buyers instead of listings? I mean, all you talk about is getting listings. Absolutely freaking not. No, actually, quite the opposite. Working with buyers in a shifting market, in more of a neutral market, or even perhaps a buyer's market, maybe logically you would say, well, because there's, more inventory than there are buyers, it makes sense to work with buyers. No, it doesn't. Here's why. Working with buyers in a neutral market like we're in right now makes working with buyers worse than it ever has been before. Why? Because of this. As inventory grows, there are more options for buyers. Listen, working with buyers was already hard enough in a market where inventory was really, really low. Now, as there's more and more choices for buyers, they start to do what? I want to see more and more and more properties. Number one. Number two, so they become indecisive. Number two, because they have more options, now the urgency that they had before when working with buyers, where there was one house to choose from, that house had multiple offers on it. Your buyers would literally do whatever you told them to do. Listen, we've got to write an offer. It has to be this strong, et cetera, et cetera. And they would do whatever they had to do to get the property. Now that things have shifted, buyers are getting more picky, more choosy. They're being a little bit more demanding. They're not writing as strong enough offers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not to mention the amount of time it takes working with buyers. I don't know about you. I literally just hung up. I'm making this video right now on a Saturday morning at my office, and I have buyer agents out there showing my inventory. Who's the employer? I don't care what the market is doing. The goal is to stay as the employer and allow the buyer agents to remain as the employee. The buyer's agent is and will always be working for the listing agent, because while they're out showing your inventory, this buyer's agent was so funny. He said, I've got a jam-packed schedule today. I'm going to try to get my client into your listing, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking, man, poor guy. I have nothing on my schedule this weekend except for I'm going to go to basketball practice in just a second. I'm going to go hang out with my kids. I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do while buyer's agents are going to be showing property from sun up to sundown. I digress. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to say, okay, are some listings more difficult to get sold than other listings? Of course. Are there some listings that are better to get in this market than others? Of course. There is a source of listings that I introduce agents that I coach to that literally changes everything for them. In fact, I just got this text message from a really good agent that I've been working with who's already been crushing it. But I literally had him switch to this source of business, which I'm going to go through with you guys in just a minute. Here's exactly what he said. He said, Brandon, 14 contacts into the new lead source and just got a fire lead for $2 million. Before, it would take me 50 contacts with doing circle prospecting and things of that nature to get one lead. Here's the problem. All right, so let me jump into what most agents are doing, which is why they're getting listings with sellers that are, less motivated, with property types that are less than desirable, and how to shift that to working with property owners who actually have to sell their home, which is what you want right now in this market. All right, so here's what most agents do, right? They go after some type of geographic area and they market, advertise, they prospect everyone. Now, here's what we know. The average turnover rate for most areas, regardless of where you're at in the country, on average is about 3%, right? So let's just use this number for this video. If an agent is trying to secure listings in an area, okay, I'm just using 1,000 just as an example. What they're really going after is this opportunity of 30 sales. Now, are they going to get all 30 sales? Absolutely 100% not, right? So we know that if an agent does a really, really good job with staying top of mind. They're really good with their advertising, their marketing. They're a great prospector. They're having conversations. They're going to meet people. They're having events, et cetera, et cetera. What they can probably expect from total addressable market, in this case, we're talking about 30 sales, they can probably get somewhere right around, we'll say, between 20 and 30%, right? So in this case, they're spending all of their time, money, energy to try to go after we'll just say 6 to 8 deals from this effort. Yes. So what do they have to do? They're trying to communicate with all 1,000 people in order to try and get 6 to 8 sales. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, well, interesting. Instead of going after, let's call it 1,000 people to get to these 30 people that are actually going to sell. And from those 30 people, maybe I can get 6, 7, or 8, maybe 9 deals, maybe 10 if I'm really, really good. Why wouldn't I then, if I had half a brain, just focus on the people that are selling? And so when you look at this, you say, okay, that makes sense. How in which do we know who those 30 people are, Brandon, inside of this area? Well, that's what this video is about. So let me explain something that when I show this to agents that I coach, they think to themselves, man, I wasted a lot of time in my career where I could have been a lot more focused going after the people that just have a higher likelihood of actually selling. Now, not just higher likelihood, but have real motivation to do something. So let me explain. So we looked at that 30, right? That number of 30 people who are actually going to sell in that farm area. Here's what I want you to do. You can challenge me on this video right now. If you want to pause it, log into your MLS. Here's exactly what you're going to find. Inside of these 30 sales, again, this is total addressable market. I'm just using one area, one geographic farm of 1,000 homes. But what you would find in your MLS is if you looked at all the closings in your MLS for, call it, the last 6 months, in any city, neighborhood, zip code, etc., you're going to find about 25 to 30% of the total sales comes from one demographic, one group of people. And so when you think about that, it's like, holy moly, if I just knew who that one person was, just so we're on the same page, what we're talking about here, right, is of the 30, you know for sure that 10 of the 30, let me make this so you can actually see it, 10 of the 30, you knew exactly what source of business that was, what you could do, the power of your marketing, the power of your prospecting. And what I would challenge you to think about is, holy moly, is there any source of listings out there that make up for the percentage that this one source of business does? And again, I'm going to get to that in just 1 second. I just want to show you guys what's going on here. So the source of business that I've been referring to is something we call tired landlords. See, if I'm going to list a property in this market and you start to think about, okay, who is the actual perfect avatar? Who's the listing that I know if I'm going to put my attention, my energy, my money, my time into it, that I have the highest likelihood of actually getting a return, AKA sell the listing? Well, I think about all the people who invested in residential real estate 20 to 30 years ago, and they've been landlords for that entire period of time, such that A, the property is paid off, B, as a result of their wealth creation strategy, not only is the property paid off, but they are ready to cash out on the property, on the investment. They're ready to liquidate the asset that they've been getting a cash return based on cash flow from rent over the past 20 to 30 years. at this moment of time, because homes are now worth more than they ever have in the history of the earth, these landlords who are at the end of their investment road are all looking to liquidate these properties because they're all worth more than they ever have before. They're over being a landlord. They're ready to move on and downsize and simplify life. We are going to actually go after these people in a very targeted way where we are going to focus our attention on a group of people that own a rental property for a minimum of 20 years and the property is paid off. So these are the two types of targeted lists that we are going to build such that our marketing and our prospecting is going and targeting the right people. We're having the right conversations with people that we know are going to sell. Because, like I mentioned, go into your MLS right now, look at every single sold listing, and then do me one favor. Click one button in your MLS and look at the amount of closings from non-owner occupied sellers. And what you are going to find is between 20 and 30% of all of your closings is coming from this one source of business. And so this is like having the answer to the test. This is like saying, okay, I don't know who in my market of 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people, I don't know really who is going to sell this year. If I knew that information, oh my gosh, lead generation would become easy. That's exactly what we are talking about. And so the resource that I want to share with you guys today is a company called Batch Leads. I'm going to link it in the description. Let me show you exactly how this works. All right, so I'm logged into Batch Leads right now, and I'm just going to show you just as an example of how you would create one of these targeted lists. So again, all of your marketing and advertising prospecting efforts are going to the right place, right? Okay. So what we have is essentially a map of the Tampa area, and it's looking at all the properties. So there's 140,000 properties in Tampa. What we don't want to do is what most realtors do, right? It's just like a needle in the haystack. It's like, well, let me just try to go after everybody. And we know that a man that chases two rabbits catches none. So we want to just really target this list. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to click on filters. And the first thing I'm going to click on, and that's why I love this system. It makes it so easy to create this. I'm going to go absentee owners. I want out of state absentee owners. So this is the first and first piece of the list that we want to create to make sure that the list that we're creating, that we're going to market to, that we're going to prospect to, are the right people. All right. So that's number one. Now, as I build this list, the second thing I'm going to go to is property characteristics. And here's what we want to do. So we want to make sure, and if you go after commercial, great. But in this case, we're just going after residential. Property type, we just want to, you can go after single family or condo, or whatever you focus on. For now, I'm just going to focus on single family. And then I'm going to go to MLS status, make sure that none of these are actually listed or on the market, because obviously there's nothing that we can do with that. And every single time I make a adjustment to the list, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner right here that the list is getting smaller and smaller, which we want. We want a targeted list. So I'm going to skip over pre-foreclosure. I don't want any of that. I'm going to go to ownership info, okay? So I want to look at any properties that are individually owned or company owned, because a lot of these people have these properties in a LLC, which is great. And then years of ownership, okay? Remember I told you we want this to be a minimum of 20 years, which is really important. We want to make sure that we're going after prospects that have been doing this for a long time, not a new investor. And that's the problem with for rent by owners. Now you can see my list is down to 232 people. This is really, really good. A large portion of these people are going to be selling. And so the next thing that we want to go to now is mortgage info. The next piece of this, remember, I told you, we want to make sure that this person has no mortgage so that they have 100% equity. So we want this to be yes. We want this to be free and clear. So let's see what that, now we've got a list down to 173. So the last part of this piece is I want these owners to be of retirement age. So the minimum age here, I'm going to say is 65 years old. And I'm going to make that one adjustment. And this is going to give us a really, really targeted list. In this case, just in the Tampa area, we see that there are 35 properties that meet this criteria of somebody who has owned a rental property for more than 20 years. They're 65 years old. The property is paid off. This is a highly targeted list of prospects that have a very, very high likelihood of doing something. So remember, I told you, instead of going after 1,000 homeowners in your farm, now you've got a list of 35 people who a large portion of these 35 are most likely going to be doing something here in the near future. It only makes sense that you start going after these 35 people versus 3,000 people. And so if you want to see this actual strategy in action, I recently had one of the agents I'm coaching on the podcast. He explains exactly what he's doing to make this lead source work for him, that it's allowed him to really scale his business. If you want to watch that interview, you can click right here.